G'day, yeah, Stephen Kerri from offthegridnoz.com again. This video is about hot water. Hot water seems like a very simple sort of a thing really for all these people on the grid. When you move off grid, hot water takes on a new meaning. So on that shot of the sink, yeah, tap. People take taps for granted, you know. They just think this shit will just pour out the damn hole, you know. When you're off the grid, you, me, and all us off the gridders, we have to make that shit pour out the tap. Can you hear Simon? I'm going to move around a bit with this one. Look at that. Yeah, as usual, I'm going to move away from the TV. Simon and Garfunkel. I know, not much to do with freaking hot water, but yeah, beautiful music. Anyway, back to hot water. And as I walk around, see I got the second section on the bottom row of that pipe ready for the next 25 positions, and I've got some pipe coming tomorrow to do the last bit. I finally finished the hydroponics. Yeah, on that note, I'm going to move around and get away from the music. This video is about hot water. Hot water off the grid. And I actually went the wrong way. I've got to go this way. Oh, that's what happens, you know. I work today. Hot water off the grid. Hot water can be, as I actually have mentioned this on a few videos, but hot water can be a bucket. It can be a big cast iron pot, you know, that you heat up on a wood stove, or you heat up on a rock ring fire, and you pour into an overhead vessel of some sort to have a shower under. Hot water can be many things, right? It can come from, without going into great detail, because I would have to make a 3-hour video on it, I'm not going to do that. But hot water can come from many places. Look it up on SpewTube. People make hot water from all manner of things. Most of those things, though, unfortunately take a bit of skill or a little bit of knowledge as far as putting pipework together, tanks together, all sorts of things. And what I'm focused on here is our little flat. As far as hot water goes, I can build a rocket stove. I can build a rocket wood-fired hot water heater. I can do all that because I'm a licensed plumber. So yeah, you know, you can take it for what it's worth. You can do all manner of things, including dump water in the top of a bucket with holes drilled in it and have a shower under it, or put your bath down, your old recycled bath, and whack a fire under it and then sit on a piece of wood inside it because it's too bloody hot. Or you take the next step up, and this is what this video is more or less about. All you guys that have got all this, you know, the more agricultural style hot water heating going, you obviously have the skill to do it. You had the knowledge to do it. But for new people who have a few bucks, I have to somehow, in the space of a short video, put a hot water video together that makes some sense. Now what we have here is an instantaneous hot water. We actually use wood-fired everything. We have wood-fired cooking, we have wood-fired inside cooking, wood-fired inside heating, we have outdoor wood-fired oven, we have all manner of wood-fired. But I can still hear Simon and Garfunkel playing. Yeah, so I can't get distracted. We have all manner of wood-fired everything happening here. But what we have decided to do, which is what a lot of people will maybe have to do, if you haven't got the skills to build a rocket stove, if you haven't got the plumbing acumen to put your own header tank in, set your own pumps up, all manner of stuff, you know, there's a million things that you can't jam into one bloody video. If you haven't got all that, you might be stuck with having to go a semi-orthodox way. Now, I'm a full believer of a big bang for buck. Big bang for buck means that if you need hot water, you have to trade off what potentially, and take it from me, I cut firewood all the time, but you need to trade off what that firewood costs you. It may cost you in chains to be sharpened or replaced. It may cost you in chainsaws. It may cost you, or will cost you, fuel and bar oil, and lots and lots and lots of little things. People go, oh, just cut your own firewood. Well, friggin' hell. That's all bloody honky-dory. But they have a cost attached to them. So the point of this video is for new people coming through that want a relatively middle-of-the-road effective way to put hot water into their building so they can have a shower without lighting a fire under their bathtub or whatever, you know. It's truth. Seriously, you can take this for what it's worth, but you know, we know the drill, guys. You know, me and Kerri, you know, we've been around the block. So, but the point of this video is for people who are at middle of the road. Now, I'm going to cite that hot water service up there. It's LPG fired. Costs about bloody less than $5 a week. Less than a cup of coffee in your local cafe. To keep all the hot water and all the cooking on a set of hot plates that you would need. So what you have to do is when you move off grid, figure out what $5 is worth to you. Is it worth you going out and blunting chainsaws or fueling chainsaws or doing all the maintenance that's required to keep a chainsaw running good? Have you got the effort and the energy to do that, or have you other projects like growing food, like I just showed before? You might be, you know, focusing on other things. Is that $5 a week worth making a bit of effort, or a lot of effort? And as far as myself and Kerri go, we have dual systems. Redundancy is the name of the game. And I'm still listening to Simon and Garfunkel in the background. I really should turn that shit off. But yeah, redundancy is the name of the game. So you might have these little diaphragm pumps. You know, you've got a 12 volt system, so you go with, that's a sea flow. It's actually a good quality one, costs about $100. But listen, I know some people have success with them. If you're in a climate that varies in temperature, those things, they don't cut the mustard for a long period of time. I've burned out and blown and had sensor switches on them go west on numerous occasions. So what I will say is those things down there, which are required to run things like a reasonable pressure on cold water and hot water, they're not my first preferred choice, alright? It's not like I'm bagging them all together. I've burned out a few of them. They will run. Some people haven't run forever and they don't seem to give a problem. And they must be in a warmer climate or something. I don't know what it is, but we actually in a cooler, we have a very varied climate in central Victoria. We go from 45 degrees to friggin' -1 degree. So those pumps don't seem to cut the mustard here. But these instantaneous hot water services, you can, like I said, boil your water on a stove. And I'm going to walk, so I'm going to go around the other side of the house. Oh, look at that. It wouldn't be Steve and Kerri video from offthegridnoise.com without a blaring sunset. Been a pretty average day here. I'm going to move around. I can't help listening to Simon and Garfunkel. I've got to get away from the stereo. Sorry for the bouncing. But yeah, over on the main house, we chose to do, and I'll put this in another video, but I'm going to show it again. We have a Bosch instantaneous. People go, why, you know, I see a lot of posts and stuff about what hot water service you should have. Well, it's a multi-faceted question. Hot water services are like so many things. It's like, how many solar panels should you have? How many batteries should you have? Well, hot water services, it falls into the same category. You have to understand that most hot water services have a power requirement. It could be an electric, God help you. It may be a gas, which would mean that you're using LPG, and that's not so much of a problem. But if you want some middle of the road, these Bosch instantaneouses, no power requirement, they have a little thing in them which is an igniter that is a water wheel. Now the water wheel is actuated by the pressure that comes in. So if you're going to try and run a hot water service like a Bosch 16, they come from 10 litres per minute to 16 litres per minute. They have no power requirement, they run a water wheel, but that actually needs some pressure. So that little diaphragm pump I showed you will do the job if you're in a climate that will cope. I'm a big believer of redundancy. So as I showed before, we have a wood chip heater just there, 70 litre. I haven't hooked up yet because I don't need to hook it up yet. But you may want to put some sort of a rocket stove or a wood heater in. Now when you do that, the stuff that makes that hot water service go doesn't apply to that. Most rocket stoves and what you would call thermosiphon systems, whether they be heating from wood or heating in a rocket stove, whatever, will require a header tank. So you've got to understand that these systems will require some skill. You can't just put a tank on the roof and think it's going to hook itself up. You need to have some skill to put the valves in, the lines in, whatever's required, plus the stand. Even to do with pressure, you might want to stop and think before you go for header tank pressure, because that header tank pressure, unless you're on a block that has some elevation, and if you have, well, good luck to you, because that's a good thing. Blocks with elevation, you can mount a header tank far up on the block and get the head pressure required to run a gas hot water service, a simple one, a non-electric required one, like this Bosch Hydro. You can do that, but then you would need to be able to, there's always a trade-off, guys, and this is the point. I see far too many comments and posts about, oh, I just run a rocket stove, or I bucket it in and I heat it up on a wood fire and I barrel it in or bucket it in, or I've got a header tank up on the hill. Well, that's really good for those people, but if you're new and you have no plumbing skill, that header tank up on the hill is going to take pipe work, and that pipe work comes with a cost. So my point with this video to do with hot water is these Bosch Hydros, and I don't make any money out of it, it's not the point. I'd like to just get back to Simon and Garfunkel actually. But yeah, these Bosch Hydros, they require a constant water flow, but a minimal water flow. So you can get away with that little diaphragm pump that I showed you. At some point, if we run out of LPG, and actually that's the point I was going to say, these Bosch Hydros for an average family of 2 or 4, they will run $100 gas bottle, probably 4 months, 5 months, nearly 6 months. They're like about $5 a week. Now I know everyone off grid is trying to save their money, but what is $5 a week worth to you? What does it cost you to keep your chainsaw going? What does it cost you every night to go out and fuel your chainsaw and do all the stuff that it takes to keep something, say like this wood-fired unit I've got next door that I haven't hooked up yet? What would it cost you to keep that going? It takes a lot of effort, and it actually takes a lot of money. So if you're new, I would suggest you go with some type of non-electric powered, meaning it doesn't suck the life out of your bloody solar panels, and go with a Bosch style system. There are very few of these on the market. Bosch is one of the only ones that make a water wheel fired instantaneous, which means they're on demand. Alright, take it from Steve. I'm AKA licensed plumber of too many years to bother with. Now you can run one of these on one of those diaphragm pumps like I just said. What we have, panning around, that I've showed before, is a little tiny 300 watt pump. Now you might want to focus, rather than running around cutting firewood for an outdoor fire, to bucket water into an overhead tank. And I know I've seen it all, guys. I mean, you know, people do all manner of things to get hot water going. But you might want to focus on upgrading your solar power to handle a tiny little 300 watt pump. Because what that pump does is it gives you pressure to run a very simple to install instantaneous hot water service on demand, which means when you haven't got a tap open, it costs you zero. Right? It's not chewing up power, it's not chewing up water, it's not making your pump run. It just sits there minding its own bloody business until you turn the tap on. Intermittent power use, I think people don't quite understand. These things, for the amount of times that you would run it, you might have a 5-minute shower, or fill your sink up or your basin up to wash your dishes. That's like a 5-minute run. The gas is negligible. So okay, you aren't living in a friggin' mud brick house in the middle of the Zambezi desert with no water, no friggin' nothing, it's all, life's all perfect and totally off the grid. You're not, because you will have a gas bottle. The gas bottles are very economical to buy these days. $100. If you go to Origin Energy, they actually are giving them away these days. We got 5 on site. Five bottles will last us about 2 years. And because there's no rental, you can have hot water on demand for no real ongoing cost other than the gas you use, which is very negligible. So you can put a Renai, and Renai makes some great units. I'm a plumber, I've put them all in. I go back to the days of gun oil burners, for God's sake. I've been around for a long time. You can put a Renai fan forced in, and Bosch make newer models that are fan forced flue. They have a 240 volt requirement, and I choose not to use anything with a 240 volt requirement because it puts load on my system. These Bosch hydros, the water pressure coming in, whether it be from a tank up on the hill, and you will need 6 to 10 meters of elevation to make these units cooperate properly, or you need a little pump like that, 300 watts, and that will make that unit function perfectly for about $5 a week. And then when the gas runs out, get yourself an old chip heater and sit it there next to your unit, and you can hook it in very quickly. Then you might have to build a header tank, or you might have some mundane plumbing that needs to be done. The point of this video is hot water services and hot water off grid. I see too many people buying camping style hot water services which are only $200, and that's fine. They're fine, but they do fail. They are very cheap. They aren't reliable long term. Long term, you're going to need something that you will be able to survive on and not lose your system altogether. Alright, so one of these hydros, which we have 2 of, and I put plenty in. They do the job well. They don't require power. You will need to run the lines. I haven't got my lines insulated. You will need to insulate the lines. You should have 20mm lines into them. Don't cheapskate and put 12mm lines in. Put 20mm lines in. Feed, that's feed, cold water feed. And if you're running water from a long way away, make sure you have a decent water line from your header tank up the hill. Don't skimp on that. These units, like most hot water services, are susceptible to pressure fluctuation. So yeah, redundancy. Use the gas while it's there is a great plan as far as I can see. I could be boiling water in a pot, although Kerri may hit me with a stick if I tell her she's got to do that. But these things, There's lots of things. We all buy pumps, we buy solar panels or a battery. Maybe a relatively low maintenance, long lasting, simple hot water service that doesn't tax your solar system is the way to go. That's the point of this video. And I can still hear Simon and Garfunkel playing in the background. But yeah, we're going to hook a wood fire up to it, that one there, but I'm seriously not going to bother until something happens that causes LPG to be not available. Because for $5 a week, my chainsaws take a rest. I have plenty of wood fires. We've got a lovely one pot wonder cooking on the indoor stove, and that's wood fired. We've got a wood fired heater inside. We've got a wood fired oven in the outdoor kitchen. We've got a wood fired oven in the outdoor flat, the little building we built to start this project off with. We have plenty of reasons to cut firewood. I don't need to add to that by setting up little tiny kumbaya fires around the backyard and potting or barreling water into an overhead rain tank or some sort of a camping bag and taking a shower. Maybe you should save your pennies up and get the local plumber in. Not that you'll probably get one that works as cheap as me, but that's another story. But maybe you should look at the hot water services that you're going to use. If you've got lots of power, obviously this is irrelevant, because you can buy a latest model Infinity, the forced fan fluid, super economical units, cost a few bucks more. But if you're looking for something that does not require power, you just bolt this sucker on the wall and it works off the pressure that you apply to it, the water coming in. Alright, and then if LPG runs out, grab yourself an old wood fired chip heater, sit it next to it, and maybe you've got to pay a plumber to come in and tee it in, but that is redundancy. That's really not to do with today. Today we have LPG. Alright, it's cheap. It's seriously cheap. I wouldn't suggest, and I've put plenty of furnaces in, heating furnaces and things. LPG isn't cheap if you run a big appliance. These things do not use a lot of gas. We go about 4 or 5 months on a bottle, and we actually have hot plates inside that I've showed on other videos, and those bottles last 4 or 5 months, even using cooking as well. So yeah, it's not a big expense. Hot water is one of those things. You're going to start maybe with a pot on a stove. You maybe will move to a camping hot water service. 200 bucks. It will fail. Mark my words, it will fail. I've had them, alright? I speak from, how's it go? I do not speak with forked tongue. And we stand on solid ground. We've used all this stuff. I'm going to get people go, oh, diaphragm pumps are great. Well, they are. They're fine while they're running. But when they stop running, they're not so fine. Those camping $200 hot water services on eBay, yeah, they're fine while they're running, but when they stop running, they're not so good, guys. You really need to think about your hot water. It's one of those things. It's like solar. There's a million things. Sorry for the bouncing. There is a million things to do with hot water like solar, and there's a million options that you can go through. You can think it all out and think that you've got the answers, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be running this stuff, oh look, nah, stuff it. I'm going to turn this off. Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah, anyway, it's been a good day. I got that section of pipe in for the hydro. Got to go down the back wall. I had to order a couple of extra pipe for that, but yeah. Hot water's a bitch. People will go, yeah, in summer you don't need hot water. And yeah, you don't. In summer you can get by with all sorts of stuff. You can have a sponge bath, you can do all sorts of stuff. But when it gets down to 1 degree, you're going to want to go out there and chop firewood. You're going to want to light that fire pit and boil 5 gallons of water. Are you really going to want to do that? Maybe look at your hot water the same as you look at your solar. And you might want to be economic with your solar, and that's what those Bosch hydros that require no power are. They're very economical. Economical whilst we have LPG. And if LPG goes away, have your thinking and your shit straight so that you know that you have some redundancy like ourselves perhaps. But if you just want to turn the tap on and have a freaking shower, look at those things, look at your solar, and know that there is a way to have hot water and not have to tax your solar system. Like a bridge over troubled water. How good's that? We're getting very close to the end of the day here, and I know this has been a longer one. Sorry about that. But look, what do we got? After a shitty cold day. A shitty cold day that was about 1 degree this morning. We got some sun coming through. So I hope your day was good. Me and Kerri hope that you're working your way through your project. Hot water. People think it's not important until you're sitting out in the bush with your camper trailer, your caravan, you've built your tin shed. Then by shit, that hot water is going to become important. Maybe this video will help people make a decision that might be a little bit more long term. You might want to buy a Bosch Hydro.
That's my friend Craig.
They're the only one, and I'm a licensed plumber, aka licensed plumber. And I do actually put that down a couple of times. People just think I'm a retarded old bloke of 61 who tries to tell people what to do. I'm not. I'm quite experienced. Sounds of silence, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah, what the frick's this got to do with hot water? Kerri, how good is sounds of silence? Look at that. Say hello, world.
Hello, guys.
Kerri's watering and doing stuff. She's cooking an amazing one-pot wonder inside. We got one wood fire going in the kitchen, not the two, because if we have the two going, we have to move out the house. It gets that hot. Yeah, hot water is pretty important, and sounds of silence from Simon and Garfunkel are pretty bloody important too, I gotta tell you. I'm gonna end it on this.
Talk with you again, because of you,
Yeah. Cat's starving. The dog's hovering for dinner. You need inspiration? Look up Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah, like every other track I put up. Hot water's important, guys. It may not be important when it's nice and warm and cozy. When it gets freezing cold, you might want to think that you did something a little bit outside the square. Maybe pushed yourself outside the comfort zone. Maybe looked at grabbing a gas bottle. Maybe put a Bosch Hydro in. And then you don't have to freeze your ass off going around getting kindling for your pot to pour in an overhead thing and shower in the cold. Maybe. I know it's all variable and I'm not pushing one way or the other. But I hate to see young people suffer unnecessarily. We've been through the hot water service thing, we've been through the pump thing. If you can't remember what I said, well, all I can say is rewind the video. On that note, cheers from Steve and Kerri from offthegridnoz.com. Hope we give you something to think about. Hope we give you some inspiration. And as always, we will give you a bloody sunset. Cheers guys, we're out. Bye.